Hey y'all, what's going on? It's BarbMeetsWorld, and we're back to discuss the Real Housewives of Potomac season 10, episode 17. Karen comes home. Before we get into all that, though, y'all, I do need you to do a couple of things for me, which include liking the video. It helps me and my channel in terms of the algorithm and helps me attract new subscribers such as yourselves. Also, while you're at it, if you are not a current subscriber, go on ahead, hit the subscription button. Drop down in those comments, y'all. I really would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this technically finale of the season, this one-on-one, much anticipated sit down between Andy and Karen. And also, don't forget to share me with all of your people. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. And where's my banner? Let me throw that up there so you guys know where to follow me on all things social media. And let's jump right on into it, y'all. What's going on? Hey. So, okay. This was interesting. Like I knew it was going to be. I'll say when I first watched it, though, y'all, I wasn't fazed. I wasn't moved too much. I thought it was mostly BS. I'm not even gonna lie. But when I rewatched it and truly allowed myself to process what was being said, process what all, happened and all those things, I felt slightly differently, I'll say. I couldn't see at that point a lot more truth in certain things or a lot more realism in Karen's answers and stuff. It was interesting. It was interesting, but let me just point out some of the different things that I picked up on, some of the different things that stood out to me as we go along here a little bit. And right off the bat, we jump right into, well, one, we saw the clips of, the body cam footage, and they just bring us right up to date on everything that happened right from the get-go. So we see a little bit of that in the beginning, followed by Karen actually being released. They were right there to capture her coming out of Montgomery County Jail. And I'll say right here that I personally think that this interview was done just maybe a little bit too fast. And I say that because we go from cameras capturing her right as she gets out of jail, and from there she has a week between then and Andy actually paying her a visit to conduct this interview. It's like, okay, here we are again. And I just don't think that Karen had enough time to really sit and process and really just sit with herself and adjust to her new normal, truly sit in her sobriety. She said later on in the episode that the last time she drank was like after the accident. I don't know if she meant like right after the accident or just, like after the accident occurred. But she says that she's sober as of right now. But has she really been in an environment where she had to actively stand firm in her sobriety since being out, now that she does have access to alcohol once again. And I mean, in jail they be having hooch and stuff. But anyway, y'all know what I mean. I feel like this interview was just done. It was just done a little fast. I feel like on one hand, she's saying that she received the treatment that she needed before even going in. I don't suffer from any type of substance abuse issues or anything like that. How I've known people though, and I've had people close to me that have dealt with these types of substance abuse issues. And I know that there's all different types of programs. I know they're all different durations and stuff like that. But because we know and it's been confirmed that this has been an ongoing issue for her, at least the substance abuse portion, at least for like the past 20 years minimum, I will say that I just don't believe that she was able to receive all the treatment she needed before going in. I don't. I don't. I'm sorry. So nonetheless, Raven, Ray, her sister Bridget were all there to greet her when she got home. I thought that was obviously really sweet and stuff that they had a printed like little sign and flowers and stuff. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, like why would they have no food? Like, But to me, it was because maybe she's picky and maybe they want, we know she don't put the dirty bird. So maybe they just wanted to really just make sure they got whatever she wanted when she got there. Like they didn't know what she had a taste for, probably. I don't know. That's just what I assume. But anyway, and I also I'm sorry, y'all, if you don't know, if for the ones that aren't aware and stuff like that, I probably should have said like trigger warning, because this is going to be a video discussing substance abuse and specifically alcoholism, and prescription drug abuse, as well as we're going to touch on a little bit of essay based on the trauma that she experienced. Karen, I don't know, y'all. Like, I think that this, like I said, I think there was some truth in a lot of things that were being said, but I also think that she should have been given a little bit more time. And I also feel like just absent, like, I feel like there's so many different phases of this healing journey also, because it's one, you need to, be sober and really stable in that. And that needs to be processed and worked through. And then you also have with the alcohol piece, the prescription drug piece, you also now just people not even having these issues and just coming back into getting reacclimated back in society is already, I feel like, a lot. I've never been in jail, but I like to think you just gotta just process that even outside, absent those issues. Also, her being a public figure, that dealing with that, it's a lot of different components to it. So I feel like more time should have been, there should have been more time in between. I thought it was nice that the other inmates, use their own hair to braid her hair and make sure they sent her off looking the best she could possibly be. Some people thought that was gross, but I thought it was nice. I did, and that's not uncommon based on what I know about like jail and stuff like that. So anyway, Karen said that like a lot of the girls were young in there, and so she had her hands on them. She was able to reach a few of them, and that's really when I first picked up on the fact that yes, I think that you can learn something from anybody, but I feel like, has she even really sat with herself to focus on just her own specific journey? Like, was she able to really, like, should she have been trying to focus on helping other people more so than solely focusing on herself? I feel like, based on the fact that these are such deep rooted issues for her, I don't know, like, she still had that same, like, nurturing matriarch type of energy, if it seems, even in there. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just feel like when you're that ill, I guess I'll say, you should really just be making sure you should only be responsible and showing up for just yourself. And she also said that with them being so young, she's told them that, it took her 6 decades to get there and they're only 20. I feel like I understood what she was trying to say. Came out completely wrong, though, for me, because all I thought about is, well, if you have been on this earth for 6 decades, then wouldn't that mean that you should have even more wisdom to have not found yourself in this situation? Just saying. But anyway, like I said, we move forward to a week later because at this time, Karen had excused herself to go shower, get the gel off her. Production, it's like, cool, great, whatever. And that's when we push forward to a week later. And Andy pays her visit in her home. It's clear that she's one of his favorites. Obviously, we know Andy has his favorites, and I'm confident in saying that Karen is one of them. He did send her a letter when she was in, and they like scanned it into her tablet because they weren't too like convinced, I guess, that it was him. And I thought it was sweet that he sprayed her perfume on it, although, like I said, it was scanned in, so she didn't get to experience that. But that was cute or whatever. And her son Brandon actually was featured in this episode too, and we've seen Raven a million times, but has Brandon been on Brandon? I'm like, he's been on the show like back in the day, like beginnings, first season 1 or whatever. But no, he's not someone that typically films. We haven't seen him, I guess, since back then or whatever. So we did see him really quickly, and he's actually the one that managed her businesses and her finances and stuff while she was incarcerated. And him and Raven, like, they're just obviously glad to have their mom home. I'm sure that was jarring. That was different to obviously know that your mom is incarcerated and stuff like that. Like, it's just a lot. But anyway, so before we know it, boom, her and Andy go sit down, and they pretty much start off by diving straight into the body cam footage. Karen says that she never saw that footage, and she had never saw that footage originally, and she also didn't allow Ray to see that footage. And I felt like she wanted to like insulate him and stuff like that. And I'm like, it's interesting that she more so takes on, like, they have an interesting dynamic, and it's almost like she's like the protective role, I feel, more so than like him playing that, which is interesting because as much as I know about Karen based on the show, it does seem like she would be a person that would love the structure of a traditional of a traditional institution of marriage, as she says. So that was interesting. And I'm like, I don't know, like, again, he's older and stuff like that, but I know for damn sure my husband would be all up in my business with that. I mean, I wouldn't even, anyway. Nonetheless, it also seems like they just lived like 2 separate lives to me. it just seems like they're very, like, she has her own stuff going on and he has his own stuff going on, which heavily revolves around golf, I like to think. So interesting. And yeah, she didn't see the footage either. She was still actively dealing with these substances and stuff like that at that time, and that's why she kind of just was in a state of denial, being under that influence. And this was something that she just really wanted to just face on her own. And yeah, I just found that interesting. Anyway, when she did finally see the footage, though, because her lawyers were like, girl, this is going to nail you, like, you need to see this, etc., etc., she was shown it by her therapist, and she said she was blown away. She finally understood the sentence, and she couldn't believe it was her. And I'm just like, that, again, I was picking up a lot of what she's putting down on certain moments, but in other moments, it kind of was like, it seems like she's removed from, I don't want to say removed from all accountability, because she does say, you know, it was her, like, she wants to deal with this on her own. And like, it's like she did take a certain approach to accountability in certain moments, but then in other moments, it just felt like it was almost like she had a body like double almost, and was like, you know, that girl was sick, and that girl was, I just couldn't believe that woman, like, that's not me, and stuff like that. And it's like, no, it was you did do those things, and etc., etc. So based on some of these little things she would say, I can understand why certain people felt like accountability was lacking, or she didn't quite admit or say what they wanted her to say. But she lets it be known, you know, she's the author of her story, child. So, like, I'm not going to, again, because I'm somebody that's never dealt with that firsthand, I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that they need to, like, sobriety has to look exactly cookie cutter like this, or otherwise it's not that. But it just was, it was teetering at moments, back and forth for me. What else? She couldn't believe it was her. And that's actually, yeah, going back to 20 years ago, her kids even recognized or brought this issue up to her when she got her first DUI, that she had a problem. And I'm like, well, see, damn, like, your kids told you, like, and you still weren't, like, it still wasn't, you know, getting through to her. Like, this, that's why I say, like, it obviously dates back very far. And it's not that it was just all fueled with the alcohol, as much as it was also accompanied by prescription, by a prescription antidepressant. She wouldn't give the name for legal reasons, but I did appreciate her saying that her lawyers were good, and, you know, she's listening now. But again, she's saying that, you know, it wasn't more so the drinking as much as it was the dosage of pills. And that may be true. I can't say it was or wasn't. And honestly, I do believe that it could have been a combination of both. However, in one breath, she's saying that you can't not acknowledge one without acknowledging the other. But it did seem like she was placing a lot more emphasis on the prescription drug component, which is, I guess, telling. And she even kind of broke down why it was significant. And that's because the doctor prescribes those or whatever. So it's not really you just independently seeking out a bottle of Fireball and placing it up to your lips and being the one that's in the driver's seat, in the passenger seat, and the back seat all at once. But when you bring up the prescription drugs constantly, that then places you in the driver's seat, but it's like you're in like the B driver's seat. It's like you have an A driver and a B driver, and it's like you're the B driver. So like you played an active role, but you may have not been the exact origin of how this came to be, or, you can say that it was prescribed and it just got out of hand more so than it was you actively choosing to, abuse a substance or something like that, just off your free will and out of nowhere. I don't know. She does acknowledge that she's been unhappy. She was unhappy with Ray. And my thing, and I meant to go back and look, but I thought like when the accident occurred and stuff like that, I feel like the story has changed a bit with that too. And it was like out with friends to this, to that, to running from the problems that you were having. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't one of the reasons she said, based on the fact that that like Mother's Day was coming up or something like that. Am I confusing two different things? Y'all let me know in the comments. But that's another thing where it's like, and I know she said that she was still grappling with these substances at the time, but like certain details have changed in the story along the way that make me again question certain things that were said in this interview. She was heavily, more so than drinking in excess, she was more so increasing the dosage of pills. I did appreciate, there were certain things that Andy brought up and said to her that I think were spot on, and I'm glad that he said. And one of those things was when she said that she's not someone that drinks and drives. So in her eyes, she had to be out of it. Again, that's kind of that wording kind of removes you from it. It's almost like, oh yeah, like it was like an out of body experience type thing, or oh, like I couldn't have been right. Like, no, some people actively just are dealing with an issue, and because of that, they do a certain thing. It's really, I don't know. That's just me. It's just simple as that when it comes to me. There's no way to really sugarcoat it in my eyes, but I felt like certain things that she was saying could have the appearance of a sugarcoat. I'll just say that. And going back to what she said at this moment, which is, again, she's not someone that drinks and drives. So in her eyes, she had to be out of it to do that. And he was like, well, you did it 4 times. Those were decisions you made 4 times, regardless of what the contributing factors were or whatever. You were actively choosing to do that. And quite honestly, it might have been more, but maybe those are only the 4 ones that actually stuck. And she corrects him to let him know that it was actually only 2 DUIs, 4 incidents total, but only 2 involved, or only 2 resulted in a DUI. And I'm just like, see, Karen, like, I get it. And I'm never going to want anybody to wear a label that is not their own or that they didn't earn outright, good, bad, or indifferent. But you're talking about 4 involved alcohol, but only 2 were DUIs. Like, regardless of how you want to slice or dice it or whatever, the issue still remains. You have an issue with alcohol, and you did, again, I'll give you that, you did admit it in so many words, in so many ways, but I also understand how people can feel like you danced around the question when you were asked if you were, consider yourself an alcoholic or whatever, because it quickly turned into I'm a person living in lifetime recovery. And it's just like, I get what you're saying. And I also believe that there's power in words and how we speak on stuff. And I don't believe in claiming things that truly don't align with you, or holding on to certain titles and things that are of no value on the journey you're trying to go on moving forward. But you also can't rewrite history, if that makes sense, y'all. And Andy takes an opportunity to ask her, being as though you were incarcerated based on alcohol-related offenses, which indicates that she needs to work on herself. Like I said before, how was she equipped to lead the sessions? Because at one point she does reveal that she was leading like the AA, the NA and the AA classes, which out of NA classes and AA classes, she prefers NA, which again goes back to what I said before about being quick to own the narcotics piece, but not the alcohol piece, flat out, it seems. But at the same time, no, like I'm glad she's going to at least one of them. Like, I'm not saying one is better than the other, one is more important than the other or whatever, but I do feel like she's quicker to align herself with the narcotics component more so than grabbing the bull by the horns when it comes to the alcohol, to the AA and the alcohol. What else? She says that her and Ray really worked on their marriage by talking about things that she was unhappy with and facing her demons. I'm sure they kind of did, but I want her to define working on their marriage, because quite honestly, and I don't feel like there's anything, I'm not saying it's a negative way, but I wouldn't be surprised if her and Ray do decide to part ways, and that to me doesn't have to mean anything negative. And that's why at the end I loved when she brought up that he said if she was able to get the monkey off of her back, that where is it? Monkey back. And right now. But if they decide to part ways after giving it the best that they got, he would let her go. He wouldn't want to, but he would let her go. And to me, what that mean at first, like I said before, I was like, red flag, oh my God, they're about to get divorced tomorrow. And then when I watched it back and really sat with it, I thought, maybe this is just maybe her getting released and finally able to face these demons and work on things and stuff like that, and be in a more stable place just in life overall, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, in all the ways. It's like maybe he can find comfort in knowing that she will be okay. And I say that too because I just think that at this point, more so than I see passion or anything like that, I think these are just two people that genuinely love each other. And I think that they've been doing the same routine for so long now, that, and a lot of that was aided by or done because of the substance abuse issues and just their whole dynamic and something. This was an unfortunate pillar in that fueled their dynamic. I feel like now that they can kind of step away from that and they're not probably living in the shadow of this substance abuse issue, they can actually, either work on reconnecting or just from a more clear headspace and from a place of being able to just now focus on quote unquote regular marital issues, they can do just that. They can actually make some leeway, and whether that be staying together or not, because it's leeway to me either way. I no longer see separations and divorces as, something so horrid, as much as it sometimes is just the end of a certain chapter for two or more people, and that doesn't have to necessarily mean anything negative. And quite honestly, now that these issues were addressed with her, it probably, yeah, if they do part ways, they probably can be even more amicable and still have love for one another, versus stepping away with these, issues still on the table. And then now, it's like, I care about you and stuff like that. I don't want to see anything bad happen to you. And I almost feel like a person would feel like obligated to stay in the picture and make sure that you get better and stuff. A lot of times is what people will do until they're either fed up, or yeah, they'll thug it out. And then once that person gets clean or gets the help they need or what have you, then it's like, okay, now I can move on, rather than, leaving you when you're down, I guess. Let me get off my high horse of trying to explain this, so y'all, I'm sure you get what I'm trying to say, I hope. To the viewers that say she doesn't need to be brought back to the platform, she says she doesn't know if she does deserve a second chance, because that is something she believes is earned. So we'll see. She's very grateful for the Bravo family. She felt loved. She felt supported. And the show saved her rather than contributed to things, because she probably would have spiraled a lot faster without it. That's a statement I do believe. I definitely do believe, and I can see that being the case for her, because even when talking about jail and stuff like that and how it was structured, and she had the order and discipline of a schedule, which is somewhere, which is a type of thing that she thrives on. I feel like maybe that logic can also be applied to the show, which is she was able to get by and to kind of just go into this routine of and actually like have a distraction and something that can, kind of consume her, to where if she was on a show, instead of drinking from 5 p.m. to 3 a.m., without the show, she could have been drinking 24/7 potentially. I don't know. That's how I see it. But at the same time, speaking of the show, y'all, and please let me know in the comments, I'm really torn. I feel like, just thinking about it and thinking about how the show pretty much is an ecosystem that thrives off of mess and alcohol, like it does Clubhouse Bar. They're drinking champagne and different things. Like it's something that we see a lot on the show. Could that be a trigger for her? Could that cause her to relapse? Could that become an issue for her down the line? Like, is this a safe environment for her to be in right now? And that's what I mean by giving her a little bit more time to process all these things, because that obviously won't know until she gets back on the show, but this can just, like, we have to keep, like, this isn't a story that's completely wrapped up yet, is pretty much what I'm trying to get at. Her recovery journey is still being written, and I just think they definitely could have benefited by giving it just a little bit more time. That's how I feel. He did ask her about, because he showed her some clips of the reunion from last season and stuff. She didn't see it. We know she didn't come. He asked her about Wendy, and how she said how, that's not my friend or whatever. And she doesn't give us any details, but she says that they had a friendship that is worth a conversation. They do need to talk. She does admit that Ashley, which we will get into that, I guess, at the reunion or whatever. I want to know. She says that Wendy knows why that Karen didn't acknowledge or thank her or whatever for reaching out or anything like that. Recognize her on last year's reunion when she made that little clip that she sent in. Okay, well, that's cool. Well, I want to know why then. again, I don't put nothing past nobody, especially about these two, Karen and Wendy, because clearly they have both had a lot going on in their personal lives that we didn't even know about. But anyway, I want to like definitely put a pin in that to revisit come this reunion, because I don't know what the issue could be. I hope it's not no BS, because like what could it possibly be that we missed or we didn't know? Yes, is this a show? Are these shows that like to conduct a lot of conversations and have a lot of experiences off camera? Of course, but Wendy doesn't claim she doesn't know or whatever based on how she's responded and stuff when asked. So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. She does say that the story that Ashley gave last reunion about her being at, was it Legal Seafoods, and the guy saying that he knows the lady, she comes in here and drinks every day or whatever, and this was said by Ashley. Karen does admit to that story being true. And then when it comes to Wendy and the story that she gave about somebody saying pretty much the equivalent, if I'm not mistaken, she says that that's not true. Like Wendy actually lives in Timbuktu, so no, that wasn't true, that she comes into whoever's establishment and gets drunk every day. Okay. Trying to see if I forgot anything significant that I want to point out. You were wearing beige tonight. She talked a little bit about, just daily life in jail, of course. But I want to say, yeah, that's pretty much where my mind went throughout this entire interview, y'all. So please let me know your thoughts down below. And the last thing I want to talk about with you guys or go over real quick is actually, no. Actually, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do that in a separate video. I want to talk about the reunion looks, but I'm going to talk about that and I'll do a whole separate video for that. I really want to keep the focus on this video on Karen. So yes, let me know what you guys thought about this in the comment section below, y'all. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share me, please. Follow me on my socials, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.